What's going on, baseball fans? Jeremy Laracuente here for the Baseball Banter Broadcast. And on this broadcast, we bring you our weekly series, taking a look at 3 teams playing well, 3 teams that aren't, and 1 team to be on the lookout for. This is 3 Up, 3 Down for Week 9 in Major League Baseball. Now, as we look at the first up, it is the Houston Astros. This is a team that was absolutely expected to be a World Series favorite coming into this season, and they started off a little bit slow, but they are starting to find their stride now. Over their last 10 games, the Astros are 8-2, even despite losing their last 2 games. And on top of that, they're up plus 38 in the run differential column. This is a team that is starting to play like the team we expected them to be right from the outset of the season. And I think that for Houston, there are very little questions about this roster as far as being able to be that World Series favorite that everyone expected them to be. So even though they got off to a little bit of a slower start, they've missed out Jose Altuve up until recently, who's now again day-to-day with some injury issues. But this is a team that absolutely has the makings to be a World Series playing team, a contending team, and with that, they are the first up. Now, as we look at the first down, it is their division rival, the Oakland Athletics. Oakland is absolutely going to be bottoming out this season. There's very little question to anyone that watches Major League Baseball on a regular basis. This is not a Major League caliber team right now. They are 10-42 overall. They're 1-9 in their last 10 games, and they have an 8-game losing streak. This is going to be the personification of the Oakland A's, in my opinion, until they move, and possibly even after. Because I think that the mindset of the front office and the ownership of this team is really not in the right place. We've covered the fact that they're moving to Vegas already here on the channel. But when you look at this team, this is not a Major League caliber team, in my opinion. So this is going to be a lot of what the season holds. Long losing streaks, negative in the run differential columns that are a historic rate. They are right now, at the time of this recording, negative 184 runs in the run differential column. They've given up 184 more runs than they have scored, which is personified by their win-loss record, 10-42. This is absolutely going to be, in my opinion, the worst team in baseball history. We have our early observations that we're going through, the series that we're doing here on YouTube, as well as on LaracuenteLedger.com with the corresponding article. And that is the premise for the Oakland A's. They are going to be the worst team in baseball history and lose the most games. So there's no doubt about it. They are on the downside of the 3 Up, 3 Down. Now, as we look at the second up, it is the San Francisco Giants. There's little question when you look at the way that this team has played over their last 10 games, they have really improved. Over that stretch, they are 8-2. They have gotten themselves to just negative 15 in the run differential column, and they have gotten their overall records to even, to 500 at 25-25. This is a team that was not expected to be much this season, especially after losing out on some big name free agents this past off season and not really pivoting to bring in another superstar level player. But the acquisitions and the moves that they did make really start to help well balance this team, well rounded out. And I think that for San Francisco, while they're not the world beaters that they were a couple of seasons ago when they dethroned the Dodgers for the crown in that National League West division, they're also not the team that regressed heavily as they were in 2022. I think they're somewhere in the middle ground, somewhere in that kind of 500 range in terms of being able to be a team that is just slightly better than average. But I also think that for San Francisco, this run of baseball can help them progress. They can help them start build some confidence and maybe get back into a wild card spot in that National League situation. So I do think that the San Francisco Giants have something that they're building right now. And again, this 8-2 record over the last 10 games is really going to be a big benefit to them getting back to 500. Now, if they can continue playing a little bit better than 500 for the rest of the way, they may be able to find themselves battling in the wild card. So for this week in Major League Baseball, they are on the upside. Now, on the other side of things, the second down is the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, it's all a matter of perspective. The Giants are riding high and getting themselves to 500. The Blue Jays, on the other hand, are heading the opposite direction and are now only one game above 500. Now, yes, the Blue Jays are in the most difficult division in Major League Baseball in the American League East. All 5 teams in that division have at least 26 wins. They're all contending teams right now. And the thing is for the Blue Jays that they're really scuffling, and they would really personify this scuffling, this losing, by having a players only closed door meeting yesterday after the loss to the Tampa Bay Rays. In their last 10 games, the Blue Jays are 2-8. They've fallen to just plus 17 in the run differential column. So again, it's a matter of perspective, because when you look at the previous up, the San Francisco Giants, they are in the negatives in run differential by almost the same margin that the Blue Jays are in the positives. The Blue Jays are over 500, where the Giants have just gotten to 500. But when you look at the way that this team is playing, obviously they're headed in a downward spiral. They're playing in the most difficult division in baseball to be able to do anything and win anything. And in my opinion, they're also faced with the league that is really going to have a ton of teams in that wild card hunt. I think that there's going to be several teams coming out of the American League East for those 3 wild card spots. So it's a very difficult situation to put themselves in. There's also going to be teams competing in the American League West for those wild card spots. So Toronto finds themselves in a very precarious position, and they need to right the ship if they want to have any hope, any aspirations to make the postseason and potentially go on a World Series type run. They have to get the ship figured out, rerouted, and get back on course. But for this week in Major League Baseball, they find themselves as the second down. Now, another team that is riding high is the third up, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. When you look at this team, they're 28 and 23 overall. They are 7-3 over their last 10 games. They're riding a 4-game winning streak, and this is critical and important for the Angels this season. It's the last season that they have Shohei Ohtani contracted to the team, and they want to be able to put a good showing. They want to be able to head to the postseason to give him an opportunity to see, hey, this is a place that is going to try to make the effort to get back to the postseason, and you want to be a part of this as we get on the ground floor building up. But I also think that for the Angels, this is even more than just trying to keep Shohei Ohtani. You have arguably 2 of the greatest players to ever step on a Major League Baseball field in Mike Trout and Ohtani, and they have yet to reach the postseason together. This is going to be a very critical and important season for the Angels, and we know that there's already a lot of questions out there with the rumored sale by Artie Moreno to then rescinding the sale offer. This is an opportunity for the Angels to really put themselves in a position to be able to try to compete for a postseason spot, try to make themselves a desirable place to be for a player like Shohei Ohtani, for him to want to re-sign there and go back to being an Angel and being a career Angel. This is something that is of the utmost importance for the Angels to be successful this season. And right now they find themselves as the third up. Now, as we get into the third down, it is the Boston Red Sox. Much like the Toronto Blue Jays, they find themselves in a very similar situation. They are 26 and 24, same exact record as the Jays. They now have a 4-game losing streak, does Boston, and they're putting themselves into a position where they're falling into the spot where everyone kind of expected them to be. Going into the season, no one really expected Boston to compete. They got off to a very good start. They would go on a stretch where they would win, I believe, 8 straight games. But right now, you're starting to see the other side of things for Boston. You're starting to see the losing. You're starting to see kind of things not matching up. And for Boston, this is a very critical state. Just like with Toronto, they are in the most difficult division in baseball to be able to win. And if you don't have that, those lockdown starters, the lockdown bullpen, coming up with clutch hits, this is going to be extremely difficult for Boston to be able to do. They fall into just +7 in the run differential column. So there's very little question that this is a team that has shown the ability to be able to win ball games. and be able to play the kind of baseball that you would expect coming from the Boston Red Sox and the organization that they've built over the last couple of decades. But at the same time, this is a different team and a different feel than what has been there previously. So we're going to have to see how things progress for the Boston Red Sox. But for now, they find themselves as the third down. And when it comes to the team to be on the lookout for, it is the Seattle Mariners. Seattle is in a position right now where they are trying to put themselves in the postseason hunt. They have been able to climb back in to the race, and it's going to be a difficult battle in the American League West. Let's not pull punches here. Seattle has a very long way to go to be able to try and claim the division. They're dealing with a very powerful team in Houston. The Texas Rangers have been playing like an absolute team possessed and hungry for a championship. And Seattle ended their longest drought, the postseason active drought, last season, and they want to get back there. We've seen their players right now, players that they have a good track record that you would expect to be playing well, and they've gotten off to a bit of a struggling start. And I think that for Seattle, we're starting to see the makings of the team that was expected to be this season. Over their last 10 games, they are 6-4, but they're riding a 4-game win streak right now. They're up plus 34 in the run differential column. And when you start to lay the foundational work, when you start to get good swings and good at-bats out of guys like Eugenio Suarez, you start to see more from Julio Rodriguez. There's going to be a lot to like about this Mariners team, and I think that that's the reason we have to be on the lookout for them. We have to watch out for this team. There's a lot of guys who are not super well-known superstars. A guy like Ty France has been phenomenal. Jared Kelnick, a former top prospect, is now starting to really blossom into the player we expected him to be. So Mariners, be ready. Mariners fans, be ready for this team, because I think that they are at the cusp. They are on the precipice of really being able to put themselves right back at the top of this division, and at bare minimum towards the top end of a wildcard hunt. This is a very exciting team to watch, a fun team to watch, and I think that they're really starting to hit their stride, and they're about to go off on a big run that will put them right back in to serious contention. So definitely be on the lookout for the Seattle Mariners. But I want to hear from you. Let me know, baseball fans, who are your 3 up and 3 down for this past week in Major League Baseball. Let me know who is the team that you're on the lookout for as next week rolls in. Let me know all these thoughts down in the comments, or find me over on Twitter at banter_baseball, and we can keep the conversation rolling. As always, you can find more from our social media outlets on Instagram and TikTok at Baseball Banter Broadcast. There is a corresponding article up for this video here on laracuenteledger.com. We have new articles that post daily, mostly covering the world of Major League Baseball. So make sure you check that out. Links are in the show notes below. We also have linked in the description below our merchandise shop, baseballbanterbroadcast.com, in which we have a ton of promo codes you can use to save on being able to rep the channel. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, the best way to rep the channel is to hit that subscribe button and the bell for post notifications. Most of our audience is not yet subscribed, so we're continuing to try to build this baseball community here, and by hitting the subscribe button, you genuinely help us do so in a very big way. If you're listening to this on your favorite podcast listening platform, I thank you once again for joining. Make sure you leave a 5-star rating review as we continue to try to move up the algorithmic rankings to be able to bring you more content on a regular basis from the Baseball Banter Broadcast. So thank you for tuning in. I will catch you on the next broadcast when we banter about baseball. Peace.